I could say lots of other good things about it, but let's move on. So here's pop quiz time. Which of these foods causes the highest blood sugar? How fast something raises your blood sugar is measured by the glycemic index. And so we have a whole banana, Snickers bar, tablespoon of white sugar, and a slice of whole wheat bread. Which one raises your blood sugar the least? Somebody tell me. The least? Banana. Okay, which one raises your blood sugar the most?
The bread.
Yeah, the bread. You guys are the most well-educated audience I've ever heard. That's exactly right. Banana has a glycemic index of 54. What's the next worst? Is it the sugar or the Snickers bar?
Snickers bar probably has about 10 tablespoons of sugar, doesn't it? Or 20?
I don't know exactly how many. But I do know it has a glycemic index of 55. So, banana's a pretty high carb fruit. It's a pretty high carb fruit. That's why it's pretty high on the glycemic index. But a Snickers bar is almost identical. An interesting thing about Snickers and anything made with table sugar is that Snickers and they both contain table sugar. Table sugar is half fructose and half glucose, so it doesn't quite raise your sugar as high as some things do. Table sugar is bad for other reasons, other than just the fact that it raises your blood sugar. The wheat bread, heart-healthy whole wheat bread, has a glycemic index of 71. So heart-healthy whole wheat bread that the media and your doctor and the USDA and the food pyramid tell you to eat to improve your cholesterol and improve your health in your colon is going to raise your blood sugar higher than these other foods. And this shows the disconnect. We know that a whole fruit like a banana is a relatively healthy choice. We know that. We know Snickers bar, table sugar, not that healthy. But we're made to believe, we're sold the idea that the whole wheat bread is as healthy or around as healthy as a banana or a whole fruit, and it's not. The whole wheat bread is what's increasing our blood sugar, increasing that insulin cascade, and causing the whole insulin cascade of disease we talked about in the first hour. That's why you cut the bottom right off the food pyramid and you get rid of the bread. This is a quote from the book Wheat Belly. It says, 2 slices of whole wheat bread raise the blood sugar higher than 6 teaspoons of table sugar. And judged from the perspective of the glycemic index, whole wheat is among the worst of all foods. Worse than sucrose, which is table sugar, we just showed you. Worse than ice cream. Worse than a Snickers bar. That's why you got to kill the carbs. This is the Wheat Belly food pyramid. Fruits, vegetables, meats, eggs, perfectly healthy, but cut the wheat out of your diet. And this is a problem. This is a typical American meal on the top. A tuna sandwich on whole wheat bread with an apple and a low-fat yogurt. That's something you might send your kids to school with. And then he also has a Bounty bar. So the Bounty bar is pretty high in sugar. But this typical meal, something you might send your kids to school with, causes your blood sugar to go from 90 to 180. Causes the blood sugar to double. And when the sugar is that high, it damages the cells in your body. It causes damage to the proteins in your body. They get glycated. They get cross-linked with sugar. Second of all, when your sugar doubles, the insulin has to increase. And by increasing the insulin, that causes the whole insulin cascade of disease we talked about earlier, where insulin causes all those diseases. And then what happens is, a couple of hours, 3 hours later, the blood sugar crashes. And when it crashes, you're hungry. So eating a high carbohydrate meal actually makes you hungry. This is when you feel kind of jittery, a little hypoglycemic, you feel like you really need to eat something. So if you ever get that feeling like you're famished, you're hypoglycemic, you're a little shaky, ask yourself, what did you eat before? Because it's what you ate before that caused that to happen. This is a second meal. Here are his blood sugars, even the whole time after eating steak, vegetables, béarnaise sauce. And so a meal that is super high in fat, protein, vegetable matter won't affect your blood sugar one bit. So it doesn't raise your insulin, it doesn't cross-link the proteins in your body with sugar, and it doesn't make you hungry a few hours later. Instead, you feel full. And that's why eating a high-fat, low-carb diet, lots of people actually eat less. By eating more fat, they eat less because they're not hypoglycemic, starving, somewhere between 2 and 3 hours later. And just to talk about the killer carbs, all of the refined carbs are in some ways habit forming because when the blood sugar dips, you want to eat. And so you get the habit of eating a mid-morning snack, eating a mid-afternoon snack, because the carbohydrates in the meal before make you hungry for a mid-morning, mid-afternoon snack, midnight snack. Sugar does that same thing. Sugar meaning table sugar or high fructose corn syrup. It does the same thing, but sugar also stimulates the reward center in your brain, so it acts like a mildly addictive drug. And wheat does those two things above. But wheat is a uniquely bad food that you should cut out of your diet. It does those things above, but wheat also contains exorphins. And the exorphins are what stimulate the brain and make wheat itself mildly addictive. So what I'm trying to tell you here is that even if you don't shoot up, even if you don't do drugs, you're still doing an addictive, health-destroying drug. It's called wheat. And so what I'm telling you to do here is just say no to drugs. There are other things that make wheat a uniquely unhealthy carbohydrate. Number one, wheat is a great acidifier in our diet, and because wheat is a very acid part of our diet, your body has to buffer that acid by taking calcium salts out of your bones, and you get osteoporosis. Wheat is pro-inflammatory and allergenic. We'll talk about that in a second. Wheat is addictive, we mentioned. Gluten breaks down the intestinal barrier, leading to all of those intestinal and digestive problems that we talked about earlier. It raises your blood sugar more than table sugar. And lots of people even have an immune reaction to wheat that they don't even realize until they cut the wheat out of their diet. And this is what the wheat does. The gluten peptides, wheat contains gluten. You've heard of people going gluten-free. The gluten breaks down the tight junctions in your intestine. And those tight junctions are supposed to keep the bacteria and the fungus and stuff inside of your gut, inside of your digestive system. They're supposed to keep those things out of your blood. And when the gluten breaks down the tight junctions, all of those bacteria, antigens, fungus, they can enter into your bloodstream, and that can cause your body to either attack the intestine itself or produce antibodies, and those antibodies go out to different parts of your body, and they can cause things like nasal allergies and inflammatory diseases. And the reason the other killer carbs are bad is this. This is a diabetic's blood sugar. If he eats potato, blood sugar goes up that high. That's why potatoes on the list of killer carbs. He eats oatmeal, blood sugar goes up this high. Bread and rice. And the reason beans aren't killer carbs is that beans don't really affect your blood sugar. Hey, sweetie. And then this is the insulin secretion. The one thing that causes your insulin levels to raise more than any other food is oatmeal. Hard, healthy oatmeal people take to lower their cholesterol, causes their insulin to go through the roof. I have an aunt who eats oatmeal every day, and it's burnt. She has type 2 diabetes, it's burning out her pancreas. So oatmeal, that's a cereal grain, it's a killer carb. And these other killer carbs, they also raise the insulin level, and then look, beans, they're fine. But the good news is this. This is a diabetic with that super high insulin secretion on top, and after 1 year of a low-carb, high-fat diet, normal. His insulin secretion curve can normalize by eating a normal diet. And we know that insulin causes fat. This is a woman who injected her thighs with insulin every day and developed these giant fatty tumors. So it is the insulin that causes the fat growth. And this whole cascade of disease. It's the insulin. But the good thing is your body's a hybrid-powered machine. And since it's hybrid-powered, this is the mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell, and it can run either on sugar or on fat. And it doesn't care. The sugar feeds in here, the fat feeds in there. But if you're powering your body with sugar, then you get all of those adverse effects. And if you power your body with fat, you're not. So who could benefit from a low carbohydrate, high fat diet? Essentially in the United States today, for us Americans, 2/3 of us are either overweight or obese. These people could definitely benefit from a low carb, high fat diet. And of those who are normal, there are people who have things like fatty liver disease, inflammatory disease, digestive problems, and they could also benefit from a low carb, high fat, meat free diet. And we all know some. This is body mass index, and this is how much carbohydrates. We all know some people who can eat as much of what they want, whenever they want, and they never put on a pound. There are people like that who are extremely carbohydrate tolerant, but most Americans fall right here in the middle. And the more carbohydrates we eat, the bigger we get, and the worse our blood pressure gets. And there's some people who are very sensitive to carbohydrates. But this is an Inuit family. Inuit are the Native Americans in Alaska and Canada. But an Inuit family from 100 years ago or 200 years ago, and you put them on a modern American diet, and you get all the diseases that we have. High blood pressure, morbid obesity, inflammation. But the good news is that if you take these people, put them back and they get back on a regular traditional diet, they can go back to looking like these people. And that's what happens in the documentary My Big Fat Diet Canada. And this is a Crow warrior 100 years ago. Think about Plains Indians. Plains Indians, they ate buffalo. They ate buffalo, meat and fat all the time. They were healthy, lanky, skinny, active people. And these are modern Crow. Same tribe. And they have all the diseases that we have, the high blood pressure, diabetes, inflammatory disease, bowel disease. But the good news is, if you cut the killer carbs out of the diet, they can go back to being as healthy as their ancestors. So what I'm telling you is if you power your body with carbohydrates and sugar, you're at increased risk for all these diseases. This is the list. If you cut the killer carbs off the bottom and power your body with fat, you're at decreased risk for all of the same diseases. And your mitochondria can run either way. But some people say they've heard the brain needs sugar or the brain needs glucose. It doesn't. It doesn't need sugar or glucose from your diet because the brain is perfectly happy to run on beta-hydroxybutyrate, which is essentially a ketone body, or glucose that comes from your liver. Your liver can produce a small amount of glucose from fat in your diet. And so now we'll talk about the LCHF diet, and it basically focuses on real food instead of fake food, packaged and processed foods. And then we'll ask Laura to come in and talk. This is my wife, Laura. And this is Olivia.
I have a really loud mouth. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay.
You hit the forward to go forward. Let's go touch the ball.
Sorry, Olivia was just traumatized at ballet class. So, basically, Justin just asked me to come and tell you guys what we eat. I am not a nutritionist. I'm just a mom. I think philosophically, I'm sure we all differ on how we think humans came to be. But what I do believe in terms of our bodies is that our bodies were designed at a time when food was really simple. I mean, you went outside and you killed something and you ate it, or you found something and you ate it. So I am going to kind of give you a list of foods, but I don't want you to have a big list to take to the store. So if you can kind of get into your mind of just thinking, when I go to the store, I want to buy something that I know what it is. Okay, just from a big picture standpoint. So these are any kind of foods. Meat. You can pick any meat you want. If you can afford it and if you can find it, I would encourage you to pick either grass-fed or free-range meat, and I'll talk to you why in a minute. Fish. Pick any fish you want. Again, if you can afford to purchase fish that's wild-caught instead of farm-raised, try to do that. Eat as many eggs as you want. Eggs are short of vitamin C, eggs have every vitamin and mineral your body needs. So Eat as many eggs as you want to. Again, if you can pick eggs that are pasture raised instead of eggs that are raised in barns where the chickens are inside, then get those. And let me tell you the reason for that. Animals that are outside eating grass in the sun, they're healthier. They have way more omega-3, they're way lower in cholesterol. However, it's more expensive. If you can't afford it and you're thinking, oh my gosh, well I shouldn't buy meat, that's buy what you can afford. Same with fish, same with eggs. Vegetables, pick any vegetable you want. If you think, oh my gosh, I don't like vegetables, then I would encourage you to figure out some different ways to prepare vegetables, or you may be over preparing your vegetables. Some people cook vegetables to death, therefore they have no taste, they're mushy, they're gross, they're slimy. So if you have in your mind, or if your kids don't like eating vegetables, then it may really be because you may be like doing too much to them. Berries. You're going to notice that I don't have fruit here, and the reason I don't have fruit in general is that some fruit is extremely sugary. So if kind of depending on your reasons for why you're here today, if you're here because you're diabetic, or if you're here because you really are trying to lose weight, I would encourage you to pick berries. Strawberries, raspberries, blackberries, blueberries, simply because they're your lowest carb fruits. They're also loaded with minerals and vitamins. So at the store, berries, fresh or frozen. Nuts and seeds. These should really be your best friend. And the reason they should be, they need no refrigeration. They have super long shelf life. So what I've found with our family is if I keep us where we've got nuts and seeds, and that's like our go-to snack. Keep it in your glove box, keep it in your purse. It's going to keep you from making that, oh my gosh, I'm so hungry, go to the snack machine and get Twinkies, okay? So nuts and seeds are like a really good friend in this whole deal. And pick whatever you want, salted, unsalted, roasted. Try to avoid the honey roasted though. But if you are at a snack machine and your choice is like a honey roasted peanut versus potato chips, pick the honey roasted peanut. Okay, because it's still back to that whole philosophy of I can see what that thing is, okay? This may go totally against what you have at some point been taught about food, but we're going to go back to that, what our body was designed to eat. When people drink milk way long ago, there wasn't anybody to process it and pull the fat out of it. Like you drank fat milk, okay? When your grandma made butter on the farm, she didn't make like margarine, okay? Which is basically like, well, the whole process of making margarine is crazy. But you're going to pick full-fat dairy. You're going to pick whole milk yogurts. You're going to pick whole milk. You're going to pick butter, all whole-fat sour cream. You want the fats. If you can afford it, try to buy dairy that's made from cows that have been out on the grass. Again, much higher in omega-3, lower in cholesterol. Full-fat oils. Oils are something where there's a lot of research that shows refined oils really are, they don't know what causes cancer, but they do think that like the processing of oils and releasing the free radicals may just confuse your body. I mean, I think it confuses your body a lot, and a lot of people think that confusion is kind of a cause of cancer. So if you can go back to oils that are in their more natural state, like coconut oil, olive oil, avocado, then those are going to be your biggest helper. Lard, which is not Crisco. Lard is rendered tallow from animals. There are a zillion, you can render your own lard pretty easily. The internet's full of like crock pot recipes where you can do it. Butter, frying things in butter instead of frying things in canola oil. Again, it's just back to a more raw state of food. This is the area where a lot of people probably are going to have maybe the most issue with this, because the food I think is pretty easy. The drink area, you're going to want to drink water, you're going to want to drink unsweetened tea and coffee. We we've been sold this idea that like diet drinks are good for you. But again, back to this thing of we really want our bodies to understand what it is that we're ingesting. When our bodies were made, there was not aspartame, there weren't artificial colors. So if you can get away from diet drinks and things with artificial sweeteners and really drinks with sugar in general, then you're gonna feel so good, and whatever your reasons are for being here today, I think you'll fulfill those goals. Yeah, sure.
We're hearing so much about stevia. Is that a good thing, or is that still considered an artificial sweetener?
There's a lot, I'll talk about two different sweeteners that I think in terms of like glycemic index are gonna do better for your body. But stevia, it is from a plant. I mean, you can grow stevia yourself. I had it in my garden last year, and you can use that to infuse into tea. So if you want a sweetener, I would encourage you to do it that way. The thing about stevia is the refining process to get it down into that powdered format is so heavy. But if you're choosing it over like just sugar, depending on what your reasons are, then I would say it's a better choice than like a sucralose or like an aspartame or something that is purely artificial. So these are sometimes foods. These are if you are really not trying to lose weight. Your blood sugar is not all over the place. So I would think about this as something, if you go out to eat and maybe there's not a different choice, then things like rice, if you're gonna do that, try to pick a whole grain rice, beans, potatoes. Again, there are things that you can eat, but I would try to limit the quantity of those. These are indulgences, chocolate. We love chocolate at our house. But you're going to want to try to pick a chocolate that has a lot of chocolate and a little bit of sugar in it. So you're going to go for your like super dark chocolates. And at first it may be like a shock to you if you're used to milk chocolate, but I think if you're not eating sugar other places, you're going to be amazed at how sweet a dark chocolate tastes, because your body gets unused to eating the super, super sweet, and so this will become like a huge treat. If you drink alcohol, then try to pick an alcohol that's dry and that has no sugar. So like your red wine, your liquors are going to fulfill that, but most people mix liquors with some kind of soda. So if you want to be able to drink, then I would encourage you to pick something you're just going to want your no sugar. And obviously you're not going to do beers because those are going to be wheat. Okay, these are my, how do you do this? Like, how do you make this fit into like a normal life? Because I'm assuming you all have things that you do other than just stay in your kitchen all day. So the technique that I use the most is this first one, cook extra and freeze. I mean, think of it as I'm gonna make 3 meals at once. So instead of cooking one burger meal, one stuffed bell pepper meal, 1 dish of eggs, cook 3 of those. Eat 1 for dinner, freeze 2 more. When you're coming home from your kid's ball game and it's 7 o'clock at night, pop 1 out, stick it in the microwave, and you've got dinner, okay? Eat out all you want. A lot of people think on this, oh my gosh, I can't eat out. Well, you can really eat out anywhere you want to, whenever you want to. Just change the wrapper that you use to eat out with. Go wherever you love to get a cheeseburger, get one, but eat it in between lettuce instead. And I think you would actually be amazed at how much more you taste what's in there, because it's not masked by the big bread, okay? Same deal, like hot sandwiches. We love muffaletta at Jason's Deli. Just ask them to cook it on a piece of foil. Yes, they will look at you like you're crazy, but they'll do it, it'll taste awesome, and you didn't have to cook it. If you do need to eat something, like let's say you're going to be in your car, you've got to drive through and get a burrito, ask them for it on a corn tortilla. You're not going to be low carb, but you're also not going to be wheat, okay? If you cannot live without pancakes, which is something that I really love and my kids love, then make them yourself and use almond flour instead of wheat flour. There are a ton of recipes online for almond flour. Alana's Pantry is like my favorite resource, but a lot of times if I'm gonna make something, I literally go on the internet, I type in almond flour, yada, 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 pumpkin bread. Those would fall under, obviously, sometimes foods, And that's gonna go into my next thing. My last tip, and something that I really do wanna like have you remember, is do not replace no wheat with gluten-free. Gluten-free is something that, in my opinion, is like a big place to make money. Like, companies know they can charge a whole lot more money for these things. But if you read the ingredient list, the first thing is gonna be potato starch, rice starch, tapioca starch. So if your reason for being here today is because you wanna keep your blood sugar down, do not eat the gluten-free things, because they will spike your blood sugar, just like Justin talked about oats. They'll spike your blood sugar more than wheat flour will. So if you want to have bread, if you want to have pizza crust, if you want to have pancakes, if you want to have donuts, whatever it is that's your thing that life is not worth living without, you're going to have to make it yourself. So, does anybody have any questions? I just like, yeah.
Your Elaine's Pantry, is that online?
It is, but she also has some really good cookbooks out. Yeah.
So where's your favorite local place to shop, like Costco?
I'm scared of Costco.
You are?
Yeah, we usually shop at natural grocers,
Okay.
is where we usually go. But like almond flour, I order it online because it's significantly less expensive.
Anthony's on.
Yeah, Anthony's Almonds is the name of it, and I just get it off Amazon. So it comes in like a 7-pound, 5-pound bag or 7-pound bag, I don't remember. Does anybody else have anything? Sorry, this could be like a 25-year class on food, but.
And I'll tell you, in the presentation, I'll give you a place where they do get some courses. So, see you later. Bye.
Thank you
Thank
guys,
you.
sorry, I really.
Thank you. Here's your sweater.
Oh, you just said,
Yes, I'll tell you a place where they do some courses here in town. If you want to take some cooking classes, gardening, food classes, they do them all. This deal is, this is located in your handout. And these are LCHF basics. And so basically you can take this and you can post this up on your refrigerator. And it says, you know, the foods that you can definitely have, any type of meats, eggs, we talked about, eggs perfectly healthy, eat them, don't be scared of them. All of the vegetables you want. And notice I don't say fruits and vegetables, because fruits are actually different than vegetables in sugar content and also mainly in sugar content and some fat content. Dairy, you can eat all the full fat fermented dairy that you want, like yogurt, cottage cheese, sour cream, nuts and seeds. And then once we get into things like potatoes or yams or root vegetables, that's when you have to watch it. Because they're very high in carbohydrates. Like one potato may have 30 net carbs in a potato, but a turnip only has 6. You can actually eat all the turnips you want. And then fruit, relatively high in carbs, so you have them sometimes. Alcohol, I believe alcohol is a toxin, and if you have a question as to whether or not you drank a toxin in the bar last night, you just ask yourself how you felt the next day. At least that's how I felt. Dark chocolate, I have dark chocolate often. And I'll show you what kind you get. And then these are the killer carbs that we talked about. Sugar, and anything containing sugars like sodas. Starches and grains, these are the killer carbs. And then processed oils like margarine and cooking oils, those are hydrogenated oils which are exceedingly bad for your heart. Beer is essentially liquid bread. That's why you should cut the beer out. And what you eat instead, healthy fats, plenty of vegetables, meats, eggs. And the question people ask, how much fat should I consume? And basically the average American diet is 65% of calories from carbs. And you should flip that on top of its head. You should have 65% of your calories from saturated and monounsaturated fats. And then you split, here's 30% for protein and 5% for carbs. And this would be a recipe for a lifelong, healthy diet. So basically, if you eat a diet of protein and fat, that means basically meats, meats, eggs, cheeses, cultured dairy, those things, and then you add all the vegetables you want to that. That'll get you through it. You'll do fine. And LCHF focuses on foods that don't require a label. So shop the produce department, the meat counter. And the whole thing about counting net carbs is that counting net carbs allows you to add other foods safely. Because there's some foods you want to eat sometimes and you won't know exactly, well, is this a good choice or not? To calculate net carbs, you simply take the total carbohydrates listed on the package and subtract out the fiber. And then that gives you what is net carbs. And if you're trying to really restrict the carbs, get them out of your diet, get rid of fatty liver disease, you might aim for less than 20 net carbs per day. And most people, they lose weight at less than 20 net carbs per day. Somewhere around less than 60, they lose weight slowly. And around 60 to 100 net carbs per day is the area where they stop losing weight and start to actually gain weight. So I would say long term, everybody's body is different, but somewhere in the 60 to 100 per day is going to be kind of the ideal balance. And you can compare that to the slide on the American Diabetes Association, the ADA diet. They recommend diabetics eat up to 240 net carbs a day. Diabetes is a disease of carbohydrate intolerance. So recommending that a diabetic eat 240 grams of carbohydrates a day is insanity. Unless you're trying to sell diabetes pills, in which case it's a really great idea. And I'm not trying to say that ADA is trying to sell diabetes pills, but it's all, if I was a diabetes pill manufacturer, I would want diabetics to eat 240 grams of net carbs a day, because their blood sugar would never normalize. So this is how to calculate net carbs. And you see up in the top, total carbs 37, subtract out the fiber 2. So this one sandwich has 35 net carbs. So if you're trying to stay around 60 a day, then one sandwich gets you over half the net carbs for the day. And that's why you don't eat the bread. That's why you don't eat the wheat. This is the double XL charbroiled with cheese hamburger. And you look at the total carbohydrates here, 62, subtract 5, 62 minus 5, 57 net carbs in this one cheeseburger. So, again, that's why this cheeseburger has lots of problems with it. Number one, the wheat makes the carb count really high. Number two, if you were going to make a hamburger at home and just not add a bun, just eat a hamburger on a piece of lettuce or with a fork or whatever, how much microcrystalline cellulose would you put in there? And how much dicalcium phosphate would you put over the top? How much gum, Arabic, and high fructose corn syrup and soy protein, textured soy protein concentrate would you put into your hamburger? None. And that's why you shop the meat counter instead of buying some sort of packaged or processed hamburger. And most people don't eat these, but I'm just, as soon as you get a package with this many ingredients on it, it may be packaged for your convenience, but it's not packaged for your health. Contrast that to almonds. Almonds are what I love to have for a snack all the time. Total carbohydrates 6, subtract the fiber 4, so there's 2 net carbs in a serving. And I might have for a snack 4 servings, so 8 net carbs in my snack. And you can eat that all day. And as far as the ingredients, instead of having 100 ingredients, there's almonds, canola oil, and sea salt. Whether or not you should eat canola oil is debatable, but inside of your handout, you have the complete do's and don'ts documents. Foods to eat, foods not to eat, hints, tips, and tricks. And also, you can watch last year's presentation, which was a 6-hour presentation. It was very different than the one this year. You can watch that presentation. It's for free at the website, carbs.com. If you or a family member wants to download the meditations, we'll talk about those later. They're available for free on the website too. And I link to a lot of recipes from our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/carbs101. So, eat as much as you want of whole foods. And oils, she mentioned these two oils. Grass-fed butter, higher in omega-3s. Coconut oil. I put coconut oil in my coffee in the morning. Tablespoon of coconut oil in the coffee. And the thing is, it makes me not that hungry for breakfast that morning. And it doesn't make you, it makes me less hungry, not because it's an appetite suppressant, but because I ate the coconut oil. Coconut oil is food. And so, by the more fats and oils you eat, the more you prime your body to burn fat. Smoothie King is one of the non-monetary sponsors who offer to get people out here, and there's a free smoothie coupon in everybody's handout. I use this Gladiator powder, and Gladiator powder is 45 grams of protein and only 2 grams of carbs. I use this when I want ice cream. I make it at home. You can mix Gladiator plus Lean 1. You can add peanut butter, and always make your smoothies at home with heavy cream. Heavy cream, whipping cream, half and half. It's going to give you more healthy fat and give you less carbohydrates, and it's going to taste great. And you can go to Smoothie King on 19th and Memphis and pick up Gladiator powder, make it with heavy cream at home, and that's what I have when I want ice cream. If you are on the go and you want something to eat, like a meal, they make this firm and burn smoothies. Gladiator powder plus Lean 1 powder. It's chocolate and peanut butter. It tastes wonderful. And so I recommend that you get a smoothie on your way, when you want a fat snack. And so other snacks, nuts, meats, cheeses. As Americans, we tend to be pretty limited in our cheese choices, but not choices, but we just don't, we don't eat 100 different cheeses. So, try different cheeses. And this is the full fat dairy, and the dairy should be grass-fed, like Maple Hill is grass-fed, Kelowna, this is grass-fed, cottage cheese. I hate cottage cheese, my wife loves it, and sour cream. Berries are the best of the fruits, as she discussed, and the reason is this: a blackberry has 6 net carbs per cup. Grapes have 27 net carbs per cup. Raisins, a small box of raisins is 32 net carbs. So that's why berries are such a good choice. Berries, blackberries, raspberries, strawberries, and blueberries. And of course, avoid fruit juice, because fruit juice ounce per ounce has as much sugar in it as a soda. If you want breads, I would say, unfortunately, there's nobody who's going to make breads that are available at the grocery store that are going to be low carb. So for those, I recommend that you cook, and there are some recommendations in the handout and on the website. And use the alternative flours we'll go over in a minute. If you want sugar, my highest choices would be stevia and xylitol. For tortillas, do a lettuce wrap or a corn tortilla. These sprouted corn tortillas have 9 net carbs per tortilla, so you can have a couple of those, and it's not going to, ruin your diet. She talked about dark chocolate. I prefer this Ghirardelli, 86% cocoa. The higher the cocoa, the less sugar it has. Dark chocolate has an amazing antioxidant profile, tons of antioxidants, and so dark chocolate's a really good choice. For cookies, cook with almond flour, and if you ate cookies made of almond flour, dark chocolate, and like an approved sweetener like stevia, then you could be the inventor of something called the cookie diet, where all you did was eat cookies all day, every single day, and you lost weight, and you felt great, and got rid of your medical problems. Because all it is healthy almond flour, dark chocolate, and stevia. And then fat, whatever fat you want to add to it. For pasta, I recommend spaghetti squash, or you can also use zucchini, which is julienne or something like that. I'm not. Say again?
It's a summer squash.
This is actually, what, zucchini is?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, correct. For potatoes, I recommend the turnips, because potatoes have 30 net carbs, turnip has 6. For pizza, I do a single corn tortilla for pizzas, although there are recipes that use either garbanzo bean flour or cauliflower that some people like. And for ice cream, low-carb smoothie with heavy cream, you can add approved sweetener using Gladiator powder from Smoothie King. One of the reasons you don't use wheat flour is that wheat flour has 92 net carbs per cup. So you can make pancakes at home that taste good with wheat flour, but it's got 92 net carbs per cup, along with the addictive exorphins and all of the inflammatory problems from wheat. Or you can make delicious pancakes at home from almond flour, which has 9 net carbs per cup. 10% of the carbs. And Anthony's almonds, you order that online. And these other, coconut flour, garbanzo bean flour, those are other alternatives. Cornmeal, you see cornmeal is lower in net carbs, it's not as addictive, it doesn't have the addictive properties. So, but I don't recommend that people eat corn because it still raises your blood sugar. Ground flaxseed you use to bread meat. Like if you're going to coat your meat, you can bread it in ground flaxseed. And it has 0 to 3 net carbs. Choose fresh produce, and like I mentioned earlier, my wife and I, we work with the farmer's market here for the last 3 years. It's located in front of the Tornado Gallery, and you can get fresh, local produce every Saturday, June through October, at 19th Street in Buddy Holly. It starts at 9 a.m. Free-range eggs are there, the grass-fed beef is there. There's some organic produce, but it's not all organic, but some of the producers do organic. And so stop by the farmer's market. There's a handout about that in your packet too. And we recommend the Holy Cow beef because grass-fed beef, it's lower in omega-6s, which are inflammatory fatty acids. It's higher in omega-3s, which are anti-inflammatory. And you've heard of the outbreaks of food poisoning that occur from meat. Outbreaks of food poisoning occur in meat because they feed the beef corn. The corn causes their intestine to grow abnormal bacteria, which is E. coli. And if the cows eat grass like they're supposed to eat grass, they don't grow that pathogenic bacteria. So there's less contamination. They're humanely raised without feedlots. And the best part is that Holy Cow beef will deliver to your home in Lubbock. So they'll come and they drop a cooler off at your door if you do an order. Any questions? We'll do a break and then get started in a few minutes, but are there any questions before we go?
Do you think our government is trying to protect the big wheat farmer? And then that a lot of this is, I mean, what else are they gonna do with all the wheat? I'm from Kansas, so I understand what's on the line out there. What are they gonna do with it if they don't feed it to us?
I think that it's a lot of unintended things that have come together at the same time to kind of make us very unhealthy. And
wheat is wonderful grazing for cows, so it's the green grass they eat when it's green before it grows dry.
yeah, so
Yeah, that's true.
well, I'll tell you what we do with the wheat at my house. We go to the restaurant, they put bread on the table, we take it, and we feed it to the chickens, and they make eggs.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, everybody. We'll take a break. Let's take 5 minutes, and we'll start 5 minutes at 11:05, okay?
I need this thing.